had a vision. People burning. Everything destroyed.
It was Athena. She was doing it.
Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. And today I am reviewing the movie Knights of the Zodiac, which just came out with a limited release last week. Just be aware as I move on that spoilers may be included in this review, so just be warned. Although I am going to try to keep spoilers to a minimum and just talk about non-spoiler overall issues. I'm also going to be using the movie trailer for images so you can see some of the things that were going on, especially if you haven't watched the trailer.
We won't let that happen, will we? I saw what you did in the ring. I knew it had to be you, say it.
Now, Knights of the Zodiac is actually a Japanese manga, which is basically a Japanese comic. The manga was well-liked, and so the powers that be decided to adapt the story into a movie. The movie has had mixed to negative reviews. Critics have not liked it at all. I think it's like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes for critics. Fans generally seem to like it, but it's not a hit, okay? There weren't a ton of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think it was sitting at 71% last time I looked, okay? And generally speaking, it seems like more people think favorably of it than dislike it, but it's not blowing the ratings out of the water, that's for sure. Now, to be honest, I was entertained by the movie. It wasn't perfect. Most movies aren't, but I did like it generally overall, and I'm going to go through and discuss some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't, okay?
What if I told you Sienna here is the reincarnation of the goddess Athena? And you are destined to become one of her guardian knights.
So the basic idea is that the gods have been gone for many years, but Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, has been reborn into a human girl. And one day she will shed her human body and be transformed back into the goddess Athena. And when she does, she will be guarded by the Knights of the Zodiac, who are also being reborn basically into children. These potential knights are being born, and they have an internal power, sort of like a life force, sort of like the Force, I guess, that's called Cosmo. Chief among these knights is the Pegasus Knight, and that is the main knight that this movie is searching for.
How does it feel to be a goddess?
Sometimes I feel like I'm a guest in my own body.
Are you ready to start your training? The Pegasus Knight is brave, humble, and committed to protecting Athena with his life.
How the hell did you do that?
So let's get started by talking about the cast. I thought overall the cast was strong, with some well-known faces including Sean Bean and Famke Janssen. For those that may not know, Famke Janssen played Jean Grey in the original X-Men movies. They played opposite each other as Athena's parents, Allman and Gerard, one trying to protect her, the other trying to destroy her. Martial artist Mark Dacascos plays Allman's right-hand man, Mylock, and we get to see him in a lot of action. The leads, I guess, are actually Saya and Athena. Those actors aren't really actors that I am familiar with. I thought Matt Kenew, a Japanese-American actor, did a really good job as Saya, the Pegasus Knight. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing some of these names, but they are not names I see every day, so I'm trying to do my best. Or if I mess up something in the theology, in the history of what's going on, please nicely let me know and I'll try to do a better job. And I was a little disappointed with the actress Madison Iseman playing Athena. I didn't really think she had the gravitas needed to play a character that was going to be Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. And I never really thought she clicked with Saya either. And they never really felt like they had that chemistry that was going to be needed between the two of them. Overall, Sean Bean and Famke Janssen, I think they basically carried a lot of the movie. They did a really good job in their roles opposite each other. Jansen basically played the dark side Garrod, who basically was driving all the negative, evil type action here. But in the end, she was one of those characters, like any bad guy, she had good reasoning for what she was doing. And so those make very good evil characters. Overall, the cast was actually very solid, and I thought it was an overall positive for the movie.
You think I wanted any of this?
His power is a liability. Once he learns to control it, no living man will be able to stop him.
Now let's talk about the story a little bit. I've basically covered the overall plot of the story. Basically, the idea of Athena coming back to life. But with that, the overall story is much more one of those tropes we see all the time. I call it the young warrior returns, but it's something we see in a lot of fantasy superhero type movies. A young warrior loses their family. They learn they have a superpower, and they have to learn from an older, wiser, more powerful warrior before they are finally tested to see if they learned what they were actually supposed to. And so that is basically this story. And what it encompasses is Saya's sister is kidnapped when they are kids because Garrod believes she has Cosmo, but the sister was actually covering for Saya. Okay, now the thing we don't know, and I'm not going to tell you here, is that Garrod actually is needing this Cosmo. I'll let you watch the show, the movie, to see why she needed it. But Saya grows up and becomes a great fighter. Basically, he's becoming a street fighter. He's doing UFC Underground is basically what it comes out to be. But during one match, he is going to be overmatched with a warrior named Cassios, and his Cosmo is accidentally going to be revealed to everyone in attendance. Everybody sees it, and he doesn't really know what happened. But Cassios, played by Nick Stahl, I love Nick Stahl. I meant to mention him in the cast portion. I thought he did a very good job. He is going to be used or hired by Garrod to be one of her warriors to basically go out and hunt Saya, the Pegasus Knight. However, at the last minute, Almond rescues Saya and takes him to his compound where Saya meets Sienna, who is Almond's adopted daughter. And of course, we know Sienna is going to eventually be Athena. Sienna is having visions and these fits where her Cosmo is threatening to make her lose control and release Athena, and they're not really wanting that to happen. And so I love the fact that Almond has his mansion is made into, and his estate is fortified, so when the Cosmo is detected, it actually shuts down so that Garrod can't detect Athena's Cosmo. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Eventually, Saya is going to be sent to train with Marin, the Eagle Knight, who attempts to get Saya to release the Pegasus Knight. And basically, Marin is that old master we see in lots of different stories with this trope. Marin is much more powerful, much more experienced, so she just sort of wipes the land with him every time they fight. And so, you get the idea of what this show is, or what this movie is going to be about. So after the training, basically what's going to happen is Saya is going to learn that he has to rescue Athena, and this is after he has mostly learned to master his power. He has to rescue Athena because Garrod actually has found her and taken her and ended up seeing the death of Almond. Imagine that. Sean Bean dying in a movie. Who would have thunk it? But Garrod has taken Athena, and she believes that Sienna is meant to become Athena, the goddess of war, not the goddess of wisdom. And thus, she's going to destroy everything that we all know. The final showdown actually is going to find the Pegasus Knight. And I don't know if they called it the Phoenix Knight or exactly what it was. I know this was basically Garad's right-hand man for pretty much the entire movie before she brought in Cassios. And he basically was a knight as well. And so the Pegasus Knight, the Phoenix Knight, they're going to have a showdown. Of course, the Pegasus Knight's going to end up winning. And he's going to have to appeal to Athena to save the world because everything has happened. And now we have this Athena, but is she the goddess of war or is she the goddess of wisdom? That's going to be basically the main idea of what's going to happen. Now, generally speaking, to go to a more general idea here, what's going to happen in the end is that the Pegasus Knight is actually returning because the other knights are going to return because they have some prophecy that they will face off against the returning gods. And so that is a lot of what we're setting up for here.
The war that awaits us is unlike any other before. I must save the rest of us from her.
All right, everybody, now we're to the point where I just want to get a few thoughts out there and talk about some of the ups and downs in my opinion on the movie. So I've already mentioned that the cast overall was an up for me, especially with David Harbour, Mark Dacascos, Famke Janssen. I thought they did a very good job of holding everything together from their points of view. And I really thought the actor who was playing Sia was really good as well, although I'd never heard of him. Now, a down is going to be the chemistry between Sia and Sienna. I just really didn't think it was there, and I never felt a connection between those two characters, and the way the storyline went, you really needed a strong connection, a strong chemistry between them, and it wasn't there. Now, the storyline was one of those well-worn tropes that we've seen before. There was some different takes on it, so I'm really sort of neutral about the storyline and it being one of these tropes we've seen before. I mean, you can only tell so many stories, and a lot of them go back to this trope, and so I thought they used it effectively, but I'm going to stay sort of neutral on the storyline. I did enjoy the action, especially with the fight scenes with Sia. So I thought the fight scenes were an up, although sometimes you just had some issues with a couple of them here and there. But for the most part, Sia's fight scenes were excellent, and any of those that Mark Dacascos was in, he is an excellent fighter in these movies. Probably one of my best scenes, my favorite scenes in the movie was that final real battle between Sia and his Pegasus Knight and then the Phoenix Knight. And of course, the Phoenix Knight sort of just appeared near the end. We didn't know about him until it got near the end. In general, I would go for an up for the effects. This was a $60 million budget movie, and they didn't try to take it too far or do too much, I didn't think. I really liked the effects of the knights and their energy, and especially when they were fighting. And so I thought that was an up, but I also thought there was some down because there were a couple points, especially there at the end when we were dealing with Athena and her energy and what was going on, where it looked a little cheap. And so I didn't really like that part as much. Now,
You might want to buckle up.
Thought you were the only knight in town?
basically to come into the end here, I'm going to throw a grade into this. Overall, I enjoyed the movie, and I'm probably going to give it a B-. And I'm going to tell you why. It was sort of a basic story. They didn't do anything real special with this, just to be honest, okay? I don't know if they could have done more. I'm not that familiar with these types of comics that come out of Japan, but I did enjoy it. I will watch it again, and along with that, I felt entertained, and that's all you need when you're going out to the movie. Okay. Now, along with that, I was really looking for a superhero movie that was different from Marvel and DC. And I thought Knights of the Zodiac was a solid entry in that. But when you look at the tropes and everything, you know, it's very similar to what happens in, let's say, Marvel and DC, but having the sort of the Japanese flair on it and having some of those ideas and the cast that they did, and especially the idea of the Knights of the Zodiac and sort of the way their energies would come to them. I thought all that was a very good way of doing it. And so I was quite happy to have found this as a superhero type show. And, you know, I would hope they would be thinking about doing something else, but I imagine this is the last we're going to get. It has not made a lot of money at the box office, and it only cost $60 million. So basically, without making more than that, without making $60 billion, you know, it's not going to have any sequel to it. So with that, guys, I thought I would just throw this review out there for you and let you know what I thought of this movie. I know most of you, if you are listening to this, probably haven't seen it. It's probably not something that normally you would see, but I just wanted to expand all of our horizons. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. So please subscribe to the channel. Again, we're trying to get to 400 subscribers by basically the middle of June, and smash that like button and go to the comment section and leave some comments so we can discuss what you thought of Knights of the Zodiac. And especially if you are a Knights of the Zodiac fan, the comics, tell us what you thought comparing the two. And with that, we'll talk to you later, and I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.